that is something which tennis has taught me is, even though I never did it, I know that persevering, keeping going, keeping fighting, not giving up is such a big part of it. Having that competitive spirit. If the chips are down, you don't give up. You pick yourself up, you keep going. And my sort of struggles in life are real, but they're not comparable to others that are really struggling, that are still achieving and are still moving forwards. And I think that is always something which you should keep a perspective of. Everybody is struggling in some way, shape, or form. So you ask a very happy person on the wrong day, "Are you happy?" 100%. They'll go, "No." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think as well, one thing that just hits me talking, Dan, it's like life has ebbs and flows, right? And we've got to have those ebbs and flows for us to appreciate the good stuff as well. Like if it was all just good, we wouldn't be good anymore, because it would be the new normal. And I think, again, to link that back into tennis, that's the same with tennis. If we won every tournament, then it wouldn't be fun anymore. We've got to have, even some of the greatest players of all time, Federer, then his career really came alive when Mr. Nadal came along and pissed him off, basically, and made his life hell because he was hitting backhands above his head, and he now was getting frustrated and throwing his racket, and he had to find ways through that. And I guess to paraphrase a little thing that you said earlier, which I think is great advice, and it's advice I'll take on board as well. It's like, around goal setting, it's also about setting up these little bite-size chunks of goals. What are those? When we relate things to something too big, it's hard, whereas we put the stepping stones and we have those little bite-sized little goals. Before we know it, we can turn certain things around that aren't quite going the way that we want to go, whether that's personal, you've mentioned love and relationships, whether that is, more professional, and that's, along the lines of, you're following your passion, but you maybe it hasn't quite made the breakthrough. It sounds like you've got some nice little bite-sized goals that you're on your way to. So,
yeah, look, I mean, your podcast is called Control the Controllables, and that is, that's life in a bloody nutshell often time, because you're not going to be able to control everything. There's a huge amount that you won't be able to control. Going back to Strictly Come Dancing, there was so little that I really could control to a certain extent. But I did such a bad job at controlling the stuff that I did have the ability to control. And I think that's where the regret is in life. Maybe, as you go, I could have done that differently in a way which would have given me more satisfaction. It wouldn't necessarily have created a better outcome, but it would have made the whole process and that journey more enjoyable and more fulfilling. And it's really, really frustrating when you need other things outside of your control to go your way. But that's kind of life. And I do think, especially for youngsters, it's difficult to understand that. Especially if you've had a really good, safe upbringing, with no real hardship. It can be a tough lesson when things aren't going their way, when they don't have control over decisions, and they don't have control over how somebody else feels about you, whatever it may be. You don't have control over how somebody else is driving. There's so much in the world that you can't control, and so trying to, as best you can, to keep the focus on the stuff which is within your control is so important. And so much of that is about yourself, right? It's okay. You should be able to control how you feel about yourself. You should be able to control what you're learning, how you're growing, how you can help others. All those things I think are definitely within our control. And I think all far too much, and we don't have to look too far to see it, is there's just a a lack of kind of discipline about looking within, and can we be better people? And I think that the choice not to be a better person, a more caring person, is just too easy for some people, but we can control it.
I'm smiling because the first quick fire question is, what does control the controllables mean to you?
Oh, right.
Maybe you've answered it.
Yeah, well, it's quick fire. Okay. Oh, is that the first one? How long have I got? How quick is quick fire?
Andy Murray took 25 minutes, but he also has a
Yeah.
sir. He has a sir in front of his name, so
He's allowed to take 25 minutes.